All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Chamber Podcast. My name is Rob Johnson, and this is episode 56. And joining me in the studio today is Heidi. I'm going to botch it. I told you, Kussurelis.
You were great.
Did I do great?
You did great, Rob.
So Heidi Kussurelis Insurance is the business joining us today, and the namesake of the company is sitting with us at the table.
Yes.
Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So first podcast.
That's right.
And it's going to be a home run. It's going to be a smash hit.
All right. I hope so.
something that really piqued my interest when we were talking in the pre-show is I had asked you if you think insurance is boring but incredibly necessary. And you said on the contrary.
Yes.
While it is necessary, you find it to be extremely fascinating.
Yeah, I do. I started my agency about 26 years ago, and after I completed the first year, I thought, this is going to be so easy now. I've learned so much, and it's just every year there's new challenges, there's new changes. You wear different hats when you're growing a business, and so no, I would say it's not boring at all.
Okay. So I would agree. I think there's a lot of it that's fascinating. I think for a lot of people, it's kind of like investing in stocks, where there's so much complicated language used around it. They don't think it's accessible other than having a mediator.
Well, I would agree. I mean, reading an insurance policy, there's times I have to pull out a policy and I'm reading the language. So I make sure that I understand that whatever need my customer has is going to be covered or not covered and can guide them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think one of the single biggest things that, whether it's insurance agents or marketing or even people that sell cars, is can you take a complicated concept and make it simple for someone to understand?
Yeah.
And that's what makes an insurance agent, I would imagine, successful, because that's how you have a really good relationship, is when your client feels comfortable and they feel educated. Well,
it's interesting that you bring that up, because I feel like that's kind of a core concept with our agency. We do consultative conversations with our customers so that we can really understand their needs. And then if we find gaps in coverage, we can let them know, share, some ideas with them to maybe give them a better policy, because our goal is to have all our customers have a policy of value.
Yeah. And I find that one thing that's always been really interesting to me about insurance is I feel like some insurance agents treat it like a volume game. They don't really focus on the quality of the relationship, more of the quantity that they have in the door. So you had mentioned that when you started, I think the term you used was a scratch agency, right? No book of business coming in fresh out the gate. Is that right?
That's right. So yes, I started out, opened my doors. I had no clients at all. And so I started my career as a captive agency with Nationwide Insurance. And so they had a little system that you were supposed to follow. And really, I started the agency in 96. So I telemarketed. I telemarketed morning, noon, and night. The agency had to be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays 9 to 5, Saturdays 9 to 1. I had, really very minimal staff, because, you can't afford a staff when you have no money coming in.
Sure.
But what was so awesome about it is that, I learned really well how to communicate with customers, and telemarketing is not easy. So you learn little ways to say things differently to keep a conversation going, to move a customer along, to give you their information. And then, I was new to Michigan as well. So I literally got married, opened up my agency, had moved to Michigan. So I was meeting all these clients, and they were becoming my friends because I had no friends. So my clients, became my friends, and the businesses that I was talking to and meeting with, I just really created strong relationships at the beginning. And so I would get a lot of referrals from customers just because of that great relationship. But also, training is so important. So as the agency grows, you hire more people. And what I really learned is you have to have an extremely well-trained agency or agency staff or team. Yeah. So my team is trained regularly. We're always growing. We're always learning.
It's phenomenal. And what's really cool about that is you kind of see that play out in the public square as well. As we were talking in the pre-show, I pulled up Google, and I was, just pulling up some research points on your agency and whatnot. And every city that you're in, 4.9 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. So consistency across the board. And I feel like what most entrepreneurs have a really hard time doing is replicating themselves. So that way the experience is consistent no matter which location you're in.
Yeah.
And you seem to have accomplished that.
Yeah. To be honest, I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out.
Oh, it's not an easy thing.
If you're growing a business, you hire people, you have failures. You're like, why was this a failure? I thought this person was going to be great. Why weren't they great? And then I really spent time saying, what makes a perfect insurance agent? What makes a perfect salesperson? What makes a perfect customer service rep? And, I put down these characteristics and then the actionable items to meet those characteristics. And so when I interview now, I am interviewing off of these characteristics and activities that I'm looking for. So they don't have to have insurance background. They have to have these other
almost intangibles, right?
Yes.
Some characteristic qualities that you can't necessarily articulate on paper, right?
So there's some people that I've interviewed that you would think on paper they were going to be awesome and great, and they probably could do the job, but there's something that's going to be missing, that they're not going to fit the culture of my agency or the training or the... So I agree with you, and I've worked on that really a lot.
Yeah, and one quick tip for the listeners is what I've discovered, and I've hired a lot of people and had to let people go, and I've been in that experience for a little bit of time now, and what I've realized is that the single biggest reason employees don't work out is not because of them, it's because of me. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the right expectations or the right structure or the right system during the hiring process to bring people in at the right time.
Right.
And what I find a lot of people do is they're like, well, this person sucked or this person didn't have the right work ethic. It's like, well, you hired him, bro. Like, you're the one that brought him in.
That's right. And you got to do it quick too. When you find out it's not working, you don't try to force it to work.
Right.
You give some direction, you try.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Quickly, you have to cut ties if you want your business to keep growing and being in a positive direction.
Have to be clear.
Yeah.
Have to be clear. So 26 years in the industry, right? 1996 is when you started. So that's really interesting. You mentioned telemarketing. So I would imagine, just kind of knowing where telemarketing is at now in 2022, that there has been a slight evolution to that particular sales tactic.
Yeah. No more telemarketing. I mean, we wanted to get, my agency, we got away from telemarketing as quickly as we could possibly get away from that. We really focus on referral business now. And we, again, about talking about being boring. Is the insurance industry boring? I mean, thinking of growing the agency, you focus on your marketing. So you have a whole marketing theme that you're working on and growing. And, you have to train about how do you get referrals? How do you ask for referrals? How do you reward customers for referring to you? So there's a whole referral program that we do with customers. So that type of referral reward works as well.
What else since 1996 have you seen evolve in terms of whether it's the marketing? Obviously, one thing that would be really interesting is, now a lot of individuals from a reputation perspective, word of mouth is of course important, but also what the buzz is online. Oh, that's a drastic shift.
I mean, there's so many shifts. I mean, how many things we did manually early in the career, and how the computer and the systems have advanced is amazing. But you're right, the marketing and the communication, we have to communicate to our customers the way they want to be communicated to. And it's different for everybody. Some people like the phone. Some people want to be text. I mean, we really have had to pick up on texting. People respond quickly to that. And the how quickly customers want things done is much more quicker than it was in the past. They were able to wait a day or two, and now it's like you really need to give results and information very quickly.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people are much more impatient in terms of waiting for things to get turned around?
Well, I think it's partly where we live, that high service is expected in our area. I have a location in Ann Arbor and in Brighton, and there are a lot of really educated people, and they just want things really quickly. I also think I notice a difference between my Ann Arbor clientele and my Brighton clients. Brighton clients still like to come in. So it's a little bit, because it can be a little bit slower pace, which is, I just love it and love that they want to meet you and come in and talk, which is partly how I grew the agency. But in Ann Arbor, people are really techie and they want to respond and they want quick answers. So I don't know. I think it's also just we are able to get information so quickly now that it's expected.
Sure. No, I understand that. That makes sense. Now, one thing that was really fascinating was when I pulled up Google, typed in your name, all of the different locations that came up. And I know that is not easy. Even having a satellite office or servicing a new area, even if you don't have a brick and mortar there, can be difficult. But you have these physical locations, and I would imagine a staff in each one of them. And talk to me a little bit about, one, how you turned one office into several, and two, what that process felt like.
Okay. So again, about not being boring. So, being able to grow your agency and get new locations and training, it is more complicated. But I had mentioned to you that I started out as a captive insurance agent, bought my business out from Nationwide and became an independent agency. I've bought, acquisitions, bought businesses, and so would open up a location and where I acquired the business. Also, staffing has been interesting. It just seems to be oftentimes, or for a long period of time, it was much easier to find staff or teammates from the Brighton area than it was in the Ann Arbor office. So it's kind of fun that our Brighton office has grown so much over the years just because more of our teammates have been in Brighton. But we do a lot with the virtual meetings. So especially when the pandemic hit, we sent everybody home for a short time. I wasn't really into the whole work from home thing, but we worked from home, and we just made sure we had quick huddle meetings or a quick pulse call just to keep together. And so we meet every week, but we have to, because everybody's in different locations. So we all can keep up to date, make sure we're meeting our goals. Any training issues are brought up, and we can do quick conversations.
Now, I love that. Now, as far as the locations are concerned, does that work like a franchise? Do you own them all? Is it, what is the structure like?
I own them all. We have, but because again, with technology, our phone rings at all our locations. Sure. So a customer may call the Brighton office, but they might be talking to somebody in Ann Arbor. Sure. But we have, what's interesting or nice about our agency is we're big, but we're not huge. Yeah. And we're not so small that we're everybody's a jack of all trades. We have some specialty. So we have people who are service people. So everybody who calls our agency has a dedicated service rep, account manager is what we call them. And so they'll always talk to the same person. And we have a salesperson, we have personal line sales and commercial line sales. So people know who they're going to talk to. But if a call comes in, our commercial specialists work from their homes. So we just transfer the call to their cell phone. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's, 26 years, you build a lot of infrastructure, you build a lot of moving pieces. What is it like now to look back and reflect on where you started and where you are now?
Oh my gosh. I wish I could tell my younger self, so many different things so that I could have moved forward quicker. But I've learned a ton. I've learned more. We talked about the staffing. I have such a clear vision now, which I didn't have that. It took me years to learn what my clear vision was. That's helped with hiring. So I just have a great sales or a great culture in my agency. It's just fun to work with my team. Working the independent agent, I started as a captive, which was really good to build my skills, but I just love the independent model, just able to help the customers, if a customer doesn't fit or isn't eligible for one company, you can bring them to another company that fits their needs. And so you are able to retain your customers, you're able to grow faster. And that is a learning curve too, right? Because I have now all these carriers I have to know the underwriting guidelines too, and the team has to know. So there's been just lots of steps. And then the more locations you have to be able to market to those. You have to market to the different types of products you're going to sell. So
it's always fascinating to see someone handle scale really well, because I'm sure you and I have both seen the opposite take place, where someone moves too quickly. And what's interesting too is when you said, not that you wish you would have had a clearer vision earlier, but like if you could talk to your younger self and it might speed up the process, that might not necessarily be the best thing at that time,
Maybe not.
Who knows? But it's really cool to look back retrospectively, I bet, and see every single thing you've done, and that does help build, as you said, that clear vision moving forward.
Yeah, I hope that some of the things that I learned with my teammates, that they see a bigger picture faster than what I did. Because it's fun for them to watch them grow, and the business as well. So.
Absolutely. So if you were to give an elevator pitch on what the agency does, because I know you said there's specialties, everyone has some generalities that they do for most insurance companies. What would the kind of main vertical lines of service be?
Well, ultimately the mission is, to have a consultative meeting with clients so that we can help them have a product of value, build long-term close relationships with our clients, and give them a product of value and peace of mind, ultimately peace of mind. But when you're talking about silos, I guess a little bit more,
Sure.
I'm not sure if I'm...
Basically like if you had, these 5 different service lines that you offer, kind of like the main things that you do or the things that you specialize in largely.
Okay, specialize. Okay. So, I'd say we will help any customer with their home insurance, but we do have some high valued customers, houses that are 500,000 or more, sometimes have some really special coverages that they need.
Okay.
And so we have programs for that. We do some really specialized commercial business. We do a special towing package that we have for customers. We do life sciences. So that's really interesting. We focus on companies that might specialize in 1 or 2 drugs that they manufacture, or they may do a lot of research. So in the medical field, or medical devices. So that's a specialty we have. And then we just work with the personal lines, home and auto customers. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a little bit going on. There's a lot, I'm sure a lot of moving pieces. What's one thing outside of work that you do to relax, kind of take it easy?
I have a lot of things I like to do outside of work.
That's good. Well, that's good. That means you're not working around the clock, which is a good thing.
No, I was a runner in college. I ran in college, and so I still like to run, and I like working out. So I always make time to work out at least 3 to 4 times a week. I have a beautiful woods behind my home, and so I'm a park steward, and I do a lot with pulling invasive plants, cutting down trees that are invasive. So a lot of work in that. I play the piano, so I take lessons. What else? I feel like, I'm in a book club. So
that's cool. What's one of your favorite nonfiction and fiction books?
So some fiction books that I liked. I just read 4 Winds, which was about a family growing up in Oklahoma area or Texas when they had the droughts. And so that was great. And a nonfiction book, gosh, I've been reading, what's something that I've read recently? I listen to a lot of podcasts on nonfiction things, or on training and on growth.
What type of podcasts? Or what's your favorite podcast, I guess, apart from the Chamber podcast?
Gosh, I like being put on the spot trying to think of names.
No, it's all right.
There's this lady that I like to listen to. And then there's this this one woman, Glennon Doyle. She wrote the book Untamed. I enjoyed that book. Yep. I thought that was kind of fun. And so I've listened to a few of her podcasts. I guess that was a nonfiction book that I read recently.
No, that's cool. And it's always neat. I always, one of the companies that comes in and cleans our windows in the studio came in today, and he was talking to me in my office, and he, like, out of nowhere, he just said, dude, it's insane how many podcasts I listen to on a daily basis. He's like, 3 years ago, he's like, I didn't even know what a podcast was. Yeah. And he's like, it's crazy how many I listen to and how that's a part of like my daily, media diet. And I'm like, yeah, it is, in my opinion, it's the best art form in terms of education.
It's quick and I like reading about all the different presidents, first ladies. That's fun too. I just think it's interesting to get a woman's perspective. So anyway. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite first lady of all time?
No, I really don't.
No.
There's each of them has something neat about them that I like, but no, there's no.
It's always cool to see those behind the scenes. I always like when they release the, generally you have a presidential interviewer that follows around and does a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So typically after they leave office 4 or 8 years later, they'll release a series. That's always fun to read. Yeah,
it's fun because they each have their own little thing they've focused on, and they're really kind of neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Heidi, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Last question, hardest question of all.
Oh, no.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. If someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They should check out my website at HeidiKInsurance.com.
HeidiKInsurance.com. And for the listeners, all of Heidi's information is going to be in the show notes. So if you're driving down the road, don't feel like you need to hit the car in front of you to write it down. You can just check it out later. Fair enough?
Very good.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Heidi. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. That's going to wrap up this week's edition of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate you all listening. If you can do me a favor, go on Apple and or Spotify and leave us a review of any nature. Just be honest. I appreciate that. And apart from that, we'll catch you next week. Thanks so much. Take care.